We're live. أهلا وسهلا. ازيكم في حلقة جديدة من عسل وطحينة. Hello everyone and welcome to finally a new episode of Asal وطحينة. Sorry the last 2 dates did not work out. It's just some complications, but I'm here today and I have special guests with me. Can you introduce yourself, Giedrė?
Yes, hi, hello. My name is Giedrė, Šabasevičiūtė. I don't know how much I should introduce myself. Well, I'm a sociologist / anthropologist working in the Czech Academy of Sciences. And I'm doing research basically about Egypt's contemporary literary scene. And maybe for the moment this is enough.
Okay. And I actually wanted to start by saying how did we meet each other? How do we know each other? It's a really funny story because so I came here to Czech Republic when I was like 18, and so I went to Faculty of Humanities and I was just looking for some courses on like the Faculty of Philosophy, Faculty of Art. Yeah. Yeah. And I saw this like interesting like topic name. It was like contemporary Middle Eastern problems, politics,
Society. Culture, politics, society.
Yes. You remember because you made that lecture. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, that's like a nice one to go to. And just a little context at the time, like I just came fresh from Saudi Arabia. And I really didn't have time to like sit and think about life or history or like why anything is that way. So I came to the class with the mentality, I want to learn why our countries are so fucked up, like why are they all stupid and blah blah blah, all these kind of things. And then I started taking the class and you were introducing topics like Orientalism and like cultural supremacy and cultural relativity and all these kind of things. And it was super interesting, and at first I would be like the one that's like, oh, but that's not how it is, or like, because I thought like I knew because I was like from there, and I didn't reflect much. And through the readings, it was like totally like life-changing experience for me. And by the end of the class, I completely like had different perspective.
Transformed.
How was it from your perspective?
Well, maybe I can say something about this class. I'm sometimes teaching in a Charles University. When now I don't do it a lot because I have a project running, so I don't have time. But when I have time, I teach one class per semester. And I used to teach something called Sociology of the Middle East, but then I remember that everyone was freaking out because they were saying, like, why do we need to learn sociology in order to understand Middle East? Why these two sciences together? Like as if Middle East was already some kind of science, but Orientalism actually. So then I changed to reduce the fears of potential students, and I called it I don't remember, contemporary Middle East, 2 points, society, politics, and culture. And it was a nice class. It was very diverse. Actually, it was the last class I taught, and I thought it was the most interesting because it was the most diverse. I guess you were the only student from the Middle East. There were some people from Turkey.
Lots from Erasmus.
Yeah. From France, Belgium, England. It was really a very, very, very exciting class. And I think it was also the first class after Corona, and I was very surprised by the level of students who were very curious and interested and really greedy for knowledge and really informed and very politically aware. And I was thinking, like, what you were doing all during Corona? It seems that you've been reading at home, and So when you came, I was very happy because I lived in Egypt for a long time, and I'm really attached to this country. And I like speaking Egyptian also. I like this
like. Totally mind-blowing. Like when you were teaching me, I didn't know you speak Arabic. And then like at one of the Darna events, was it a Darna event? Yeah. And then you were speaking like full fluent Egyptian with my Egyptian friends. I was like, wait, you speak? And then it was like completely mind-blowing. And then we're all speaking, and like you understand also like the colloquials, like the jokes, everything. And you didn't live there for long. How many years?
I did. I arrived to Egypt in 2011, just like 2 weeks before the revolution started.
Oh.
And I didn't know it's gonna start. But my topic was the revolution. I wanted to work on the revolution of '52, so Nasser's nationalist revolution.
And then you got an
and then
new
I knew
revolution.
a new revolution happened. And it was a very funny story because I was going to archives to read like newspapers about the old revolution, and I was going every day, walking to National Archives and sitting there until the evening, and then going back. I didn't know many people. My only like friends were civil servants working in this library. And then at some point they said like, you are like, why are you so interested in this like old revolution? Tomorrow there is a new one happening, and the tomorrow was 25th of January.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I was like,
and you
what?
didn't know about it?
No, but
yeah.
I mean, I was really like buried in the newspapers.
Yeah.
I didn't follow the news, and I didn't have I had just arrived basically, so I didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
So then when it started, it was quite crazy because I didn't have like any friends, so I was like hanging out in these demonstrations alone. But basically I stayed then until 2015, so I lived for like 4 years continuously in Egypt.
Wow.
And then I came back to Lithuania for like 1 semester, and then I got a job here, so I came here to Prague. And since then I'm going back very often to Cairo because I'm still
4 years. But I've been here in this country for 4 years and I've been trying to learn it, but I still don't have it at the same level as you, like in Egyptian Arabic, I would say.
You mean in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, in the Czech Republic. But you also told me that Czech is hard for you.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. It's also not only about the language. It's also about like how much people like to speak to strangers. And I think in Egypt it's really not. It's really not difficult to learn the language if you want, because everyone wants to speak to you. Everyone wants to say something, and everyone wants to have kind of a relationship with you, either neighborhood, either friendship, or like it's everywhere. So, and then also. When you speak a little bit, people would not say that you don't speak. They would encourage you, and they would say like, you're speaking so good, and you don't realize that actually you don't speak good. But then when you start to speak good, and the same person would say like, yeah, remember like your Arabic was very bad, but now it's good. So it happened to me. So I never realized, like I never knew where was the threshold. I just Yeah, because no one was there to discourage me. It was on the contrary. Yeah.
That's really nice. And how was the revolution for you? Like, did you stay alone? How was it from like outsider perspective?
Well, there were different moments in the revolution, and because if we, I don't know, like let's say it started 2011. Then it continued, I always say it continued until 2015 maybe, 2013 when Sisi took power, but then he consolidated the power very much 2015. So during these 4 years, there were a lot of events and ups and downs. So there were moments of happiness and exuberance and demonstrations and hope and very big hope, very big dreams of a change. Then there were moments really when the country risked to slip into civil war, very dangerous moments when there were only 2 camps and you could not create a 3rd camp because the society was so polarized. There were moments of very strong emotions of happiness and joy and hope, and also very big fear, and so everything was mixed. And I think for me also the revolution was one of the things why I keep returning to the country, because it creates very strong links, emotional links to the country and its people. If you live something like that, you can't really not come back, because you created this kind of link.
Plus your research is based on topics of people there. So
exactly. But I think I choose the topics because I just want to go back to Cairo and
I remember also when I was a kid, although I didn't live in Egypt. I lived in Saudi Arabia, and even I could see it through my parents, like this hope in the whole neighborhood because most of us were Egyptians there, and this like immense like hope and happiness that about to come, and everyone just seemed to be in a good mood, inviting everyone over for food and stuff. And I remember watching videos from the street, like people cleaning the streets and stuff, and then like fast forward a little bit, like then like the whole election thing, and then Rabaa al Adawiya, and like seeing that happen on the screen, and then like the co-op up, like it was
Yeah.
it's crazy seeing it from outside, and I'm like I knew it was a very big thing because I could see it on my parents and stuff.
Yeah. And how old you were at 2011 when it started? Like.
How old was I? I was 10 years old.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like we were always watching the news, and I think I saw many things that I should have not seen at that age, like age 10, 11, 12, 13, like what happened in Libya, for example, with the Gaddafi. Like I remember coming back from school one day and just seeing his dead body on screen. I was like, okay, great. Or like what happened in the revolution and like the videos that was coming out and stuff. But yeah, it was very interesting, like from outside perspective, because I guess I'll never be able to get it as people who live there and they experienced it. Because
Yeah. And do you think for you it's like it created some kind of consciousness or awareness, or did it have some transformative like effects on you, this Arab Spring, when you were 10 years old? Maybe you were a bit too young, but like did you know anything, for example, about Libya before seeing that Gaddafi?
Actually, nothing. I didn't know anything before, and only when I saw it and my parents were talking about, asked them about it, and they gave me like a general information. But no, and also like there's no like Libyan diaspora in Saudi Arabia at all, so I didn't actually meet anyone from Libya. But I didn't know anything about it before, and I just knew this happened. And I remember asking my dad, and he was conflicted about it. It was not like as happiness like in Tunis and Egypt and this. It's for him it was like mixed emotions. When he's like, yeah, like he was bad dictator stuff, but like we don't know where the country will go now, and it was actually doing good under his control and stuff. So then later in life, when I actually knew what happened, I was like, okay, makes sense. This type of reaction and stuff. And I would remember always like seeing on the screen. I don't know, like it was like a football game for sure, like which side to choose, and I would ask my dad, okay, are we with like people who want to do the military co-op or against it? Like, which side are we on? So, but yeah, like this was the whole thing. But I was like detached from it.
Because you were outside.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that was a nice introduction. And actually today we wanted to talk about a topic that maybe like you would find interesting, and I think it's very interesting, is the concept of diyafa, which in English we're discussing before the show. And
Hospitality.
it's hospitability.
Or hospitality.
Or hospitality. I don't know. One of these
We got
two,
mixed up. Yeah.
We understand, but in Arabic it's diyafa, and we were having iftar one day. We were supposed to discuss it, and then we discussed the last 5 minutes, and we said that it's an interesting topic to talk about it as an outsider, and how is it different here, and your experience with it and my experience with it, that I only noticed it going away, for example, or something like this. So, did you study this topic, or how did it come to your mind? What comes to your mind when the word diyafa comes? Because Arabic is not your first language, so yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about this topic. It's a theme that keeps coming back on my mind a lot. It has a lot of I feel like it's a topic that opens up to different topics. Like it's a way to approach some topic that is not inherently from the beginning political and maybe not polarizing, but it allows us to shift a little bit the discussion. But I started. Well, maybe the first thing that why I wanted to speak about this, because it's Ramadan and people visit each other for iftars, for dinners, and then they invite each other again, and they are guests and hosts, and they are shifting sides, and it's a kind of like recreating society or reconnecting that is based on this like tradition or like concept. So that was one reason. And another reason, because in my research, basically this is how I think about my research. I work on, since few years I'm exploring literary clubs in Cairo. And it's basically literary gatherings that held and organized in different buildings that were inherited from like Nasser's time, all this like huge, massive syndicates, culture palaces, social clubs, this whole like material infrastructure, which is now kind of like crumbling away, like because you need a lot of money to maintain it, and it's kind of it's past time of this like socialist welfare ambitions. So so I'm working on this like milieu, which is also like very attached to this public sector. They are all the writers, and the whole scene of literature is structured around this concept. Because, for example, someone is doing an event, and if I go to visit that person, I will be a guest, and I will even receive a virtual invitation card, dawa, on Facebook. I completely made like from my pictures from Facebook, like taken from my account, like some old
like old templates with like flowers
and stuff. Exactly, with flowers, and it will be written dawa, in like invitation and my name, and I will be like also indicated as a guest, Defa.
Yeah.
And then everyone that goes there, they are the youth. And if I go, also it's very much expressed through the concept of karam, which is like hospitality. Also, it's like the diafa or karam. I think karam maybe it's more in the Gulf countries, but and I would like, if I go to someone's event, I will like say ana hakaramu, like I will give him like like honor. I will honor. Exactly. Yeah. So I started to think about this scene in the terms of diafa, of guests going and honoring each other, and how it structures the scene. And it's very interesting because it creates kind of proximity and distance at the same time, because when you are a guest, your place is very well fixed by a ritual, like even in a house, for example, you're inviting someone in the house for iftar, and a guest comes, and of course there is a seat where like maybe it's the best seat like in the house, but the guest is not supposed to go and like go to other rooms and like go through your things or ask questions or like start to breaking plates or saying that the food is not good. So this whole interaction is ritualized. There are rules. There are, at the same time, host also, he's not supposed to to poison the guest, for example.
So like there's hidden rules that are there.
Exactly, and it's also a way to, for example, so speaking about this literary clubs, people don't know each other, and they are guests in some event, and since they don't know each other, this kind of ritualistic, idiom of karam provides them a safe space, because you know the rules, so you just follow them, and it provides a safe space to interact and socialize and create relationships. So it's some kind of shared language that establishes the beginning of relationships. And I'm really interested in this idea because we also can think about, for example, migration in these terms, like for example, people coming to the Czech Republic from countries that are ravaged by wars, and like are their presence or arrival is expressed through this idiom or not, or for any traveler, you're traveling, and the code of Tiafa hospitality provides this shared language that both would understand before they know each other's real language. Yeah, so I thought this topic is interesting because it's like in the society in societies that were Egyptian society, for example, like again speaking about my research, basically people are trying to reconstruct the society after the revolution because it was very much divided between like Muslim Brotherhood and the supporters of the current president. So how do you reestablish this, you know, like how do you start to meet and work with people while knowing that they maybe took part in the Rabaa massacre of Muslim brothers? It's a very deep traumatism. It's very difficult to recreate the relationships. So
like in these literary clubs, like you notice this? Yeah.
Because people who go there, they like there is a very active avoidance of politics. But people who go there, of course, they were on different sides during the revolution. Some were supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, other people were supporting the current president. So how do you work together? You know, when you have this in mind that maybe that person, like who's speaking, who invited me to the event, was actually participating. Maybe he killed my like neighbors. So so it allows to, like, you know, this ritual and established roles of guests and hosts allows to provides a structure for interaction that it's shared regardless of maybe conflictual political pasts.
So it could be like political also, like how to navigate relationships without talking about it. I never thought about it in terms of ritual because it is like, I remember like growing up, like you always need to bring something if you're gonna visit like the house the first time. You put your shoes out, you give it, you say hi, you compliment the house.
Exactly.
You compliment the food even if you didn't eat it or try it, and you ask where you can sit, and like there's this like navigation. But like how do you see it carry over from like the private household to like bigger literary clubs or like more official stuff? Does it carry over in your opinion?
Yeah, it's actually very similar.
Okay.
It's of course it's a bit different, but it's also similar. The ritual is the same because the host or the leader of the club or who owns the event basically, he recreates somehow of a homey atmosphere. There are always refreshments, you know.
Yes.
There are sweets passed around. Everyone is greeted when everyone is coming through the door. The person will greet that person because they know him or because they sent him an invitation before. So
they should know.
Everyone is greeted personally, and everyone is greeted like a great poet and a great writer, a great critic. There is this, and then of course the guests are supposed, like really they are not supposed to break the rules and start to speak politics or saying that the book they're discussing is bad or like. Also it's interesting because these events, these discussions, more intimate ones, like when the mistakes of the event, of the literary event are discussed, they're discussed in coffee place that people would go after the event. They would go to a coffee place to have a tea and to discuss about the event, and then everything comes out, like who spoke too long, who didn't greet whom, who exactly. So
and this idea of greeting a person when they come in, I was always very interested in it because like we were doing an event here, and me and my friend Tahina is also Egyptian, and he said we need to have someone at the door to greet people when they come to the event, you know. And I was like, yes, it's a great idea because it's how we do it, so that you feel welcome. You know,
exactly.
At the door, like doesn't necessarily need to know your name, but like hi, welcome, like blah blah, all these kind of things. I think it'd be interesting to do.
It makes a difference because when you go into an event and you don't know anyone and no one notices you and you don't know if you belong here or not, it's different when you are going in and they're saying welcome and even they know your name and there is a seat for you and
And I remember when we were talking about this topic when we were having the iftar about how people people use it to navigate political differences, and like they have history or they have a problem, and maybe through the Yafa they can like fix it or try to do something about it. Like, can I invite you? You invite me. We have this good relation, although something bad happened or something like this.
Yeah, yeah. It's also a power act. It's not only. I mean, the person who is the host, he has a house. He is the one who holds the power more than the other one who than the guest. And the act of generosity, of inviting, of receiving someone is also a little bit an act of power, of showing that you are rich, you have like abundant resources, you can offer a lot of foods. Interestingly, like in Jordanian or like Gulf countries traditions like this karam, the guest he also has some kind of power, and the power is poetry, because he might then spoil the reputation of the host by saying how bad the food is and
In poetry.
exactly, yeah. So this is an interesting configuration, but the power relationship is of course unequal. That's why the guests, they try to invite the host back to equalize it, like to make it equal. And yeah, there is one researcher, like he wrote a very interesting article showing that in Jordan, all the power like coups, like power reversals in history happened when a guest didn't respect the host, or the host didn't respect the guest. Like it's basically to reinverse power structure. When new tribes emerged and they subjugated the old ones, it was through their not following the rules of hospitality in Yeah. But also in Egypt, like we were talking about this Muhammad Ali, the founder of modern Egypt, how he took power in Egypt in the beginning of 19th century. Yes, so Egypt was ruled by Mamluk, little, like how you call it, fiefdoms, like, and. So what Muhammad Ali did, he invited all the chiefs of Mamluk to the citadel for a celebration. And then when they came, he closed the doors and he massacred everyone. So this is...
So it was not poison?
I think it was a massacre.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and he became a leader of the country. So it's exactly the same kind of the way of doing politics, not respecting... the guest.
I didn't think about it this way, because like if you're invited somewhere to someone's place, you cannot not go. Like you have to go.
Exactly.
So they couldn't just like not go to the celebration. Because disrespectful can start another conflict. If, like,
exactly, the wars can start because it's someone.
Like disrespectful, you know, someone invites you and you don't show up, and it reminds me also of someone I know. I'm not gonna say his name, and there was like also some kind of event, and there was an official in the government, and he invited everyone to goodbye party, but they were on bad terms, and he didn't go, but he invited him so that he can fix the whatever happened between them, and on like an equal ground, kind of, because he didn't want to be there and try to bring up this issue, so he invited him over, and then they talked about this issue before that official went. So it's also interesting how to do it that way. And is there anything else you can add, or I can ask?
Yeah, I just maybe wanted to react to what you said. Like it's also I think a way to do politics everywhere, a hidden way, because of course now I'm trying to think in terms of diplomacy, but I think that diplomacy is one way. But then when there are this kind of conflicts, of course, like, I don't know, in Russia, they will invite someone in sauna with the vodka. Like, it's also the same kind of way of doing politics. Like behind the scenes, it will be through this tradition of inviting, treating someone well, and
Yeah. I wanted to go like to the topic of Ramadan and Diyafa and stuff. And how did you see it from your perspective and stuff? Because I would say like being hospitable, it should be even more in Ramadan, and you really have to give to everyone and be generous because that's the month of it and stuff. So how was it from your experience, and how did you view it?
In Egypt, you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is the time when people visit each other a lot. They eat with each other a lot. They reconnect. But I think it's also not so easy. I don't want to idealize the thing. I think that some people are suffering that they need to go every day some some other house and eat a lot and say all these polite things all the time because it's also ritualized. But yeah, for me it's somehow the month of abundance of a lot of that people. Of course, people are fasting during the day, but then in the evening they would go to each other's houses and they would eat a lot of food, and there would be a lot of people, and the more you have, the more you are, the better. I remember when I was living in Egypt, the most thing I liked about Ramadan was this 1 hour just before the iftar, when the sun is starting to set, and no one is in the streets, and the streets are empty, but then you could see people like carrying cakes or carrying food to other people's houses. And also there is a very nice tradition in Egypt that I was always loving so much. If you happen to be in a car driving and there is iftar time, people would some volunteering people would just offer drinks and water and some sweet drinks for people who can't be at home at that point because they are working at that hour. And this is also a very nice moment.
I think it's very nice. Even people like these volunteers, they all bring something to give, or sometimes it's just like vendors actually just giving food to anyone on the street to eat at that time. Yeah, and I kind of miss it here, or at least I grew up in Saudi, like there was not that much, but I remember just like everyone sitting on the table eating together, like discussing or watching some TV show before the iftar, because usually the most trending TV show would be at before iftar time.
The musalsalat, the TV series.
You would watch it before, and then like a few minutes before you eat, like, you pray together, or like you connect spiritually, and then like you break your fast and then you eat. But always like families would invite each other all throughout, and even like it's the month where like you make connection with neighbors. Even if you don't talk, you knock on the door, you give a plate of food, they take it, they knock on your door, they give you the same plate, so you return it. So there's this kind of ritual of like the plate always going and coming back,
and it cannot be empty, no? The plate is like, it's very impolite to give like an empty plate back.
So you have to cook something back and send it. And like in Saudi Arabia, sometimes they also have it between houses that when you return it, it has to be bigger than the one before. So there is always this like, like you give me small cake, next time I give you a meal, then you bigger meal, until you give a whole dish or something like this. So I remember like there was this thing in Saudi Arabia also, like you always have to give something bigger in return. But also they have the concept of karam also is really important in Bedouin times also. This is what I understood from that like being generous is the most respectable attribute a person can
exactly
have. And you would do anything so that people can call you Karim or generous. Or people just do it because they want to. And I remember like at school they taught us this old poem about this like person who okay, so back before, like people would travel all the time, and there was a traveler passing by, and he needed he asked he can stay. So he was a guest in this person's place, but they didn't have any food. It was drought. All his sheep and goats died and everything, and he only had a horse. So he killed the horse so that he can cook meat for the guests to show how generous he is. And then he was actually, this traveler was a poet, and he said this poem to everyone.
You see, this is the reputation. Like, it's
this person who's so generous that he cooked his horse for him, and then I don't know what happened after, but I think some good reputation came, and this person was very high person in society later.
He rose in the ranks of society, even if he lost a horse.
So it's interesting, this like being generous is a really good attribute that you always try to aim to, and you do it through the yafa and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's in religious tradition also, like Abrahamic religion, like like the stories, like there are a lot of stories like this in mythology, like or like stories that compose religion, Islam and Judaism. Like sacrificing your son for God. I think like giving for a guest everything. What is the dearest? What's the dearest for you? I think it connects to religious idea also.
By it also somehow.
Like like what I want to say. That people would give, would sacrifice. How is it was called? I don't remember, but
what?
I forgot in English. That people, before Islam became like one dominant religion, there were like many different gods. And each god had their own like temple, or there were temple with different gods, and people would go and give to gods what was the dearest for them. So meat, the most expensive things, gold, the best things that they had, they would leave it. And I think it's also very interesting as an idea to give up the best you have for God, or for like you just throw it somewhere expecting that maybe it's gonna bring a reward later in life, or maybe even not expecting, but I think it's an interesting
also like relating to the religious point, like I remember my parents would always tell me, like even like if we're not doing well or like there's not enough money, they would try to give to like poor people in need, because they say it will come back double later, so it's like this belief that they had that wherever they give to people who are less fortunate, it will come back in double, and you can see it with like for example religious entrepreneurs, like they always make like this waqf or like something, so that either so that they can go to heaven, or so that they will get it back later or something like this.
It's the reward is not immediate, but located somewhere in the future, and you should be patient to receive the things that you gave on the double.
And speaking of waqf, did you encounter it in Egypt, and do you know the history of it or no? Of like waqf? Because I want to explain it to people who don't understand, because waqf literally means like stop, or like to stop, but it's a concept from like Islamic law, I believe. Yes, it's from Islamic law. That's you like either a land or a well or water or some kind of resource or something that you build, and it doesn't become a commodity anymore. So it cannot be sold, it cannot be bought, it cannot be inherited. It just stays. That's why there's the name stop on it. So stop. So it only belongs for the common, or for the people, or for like some kind of charitable event. So this is like waqf. And actually it's really interesting concept, because like I heard it growing up. Like I would go to the mosque and see the chair on it, like waqf lillah ta'ala, like it's like someone
Don't
donated.
steal it.
Someone don't steal it. Someone donated this chair to the mosque so that people with like disabilities can go and sit there and pray and sit on it. Like it's an immovable something, and it's donated to God, so don't touch it. And it's like really like no one steals it, because as soon as you see waqf on it, it's like holy, like you don't touch this thing. It belongs to like God almost. But I actually went to this exhibition 2 years ago, and there was one video talking about the waqf and the idea of it, and it was really interesting. So it was this researcher, I completely forgot the name because I just stumbled there by mistake. It was at Rudolfinum, and this video about like in Lebanon, some lands, how it is waqf, and how they still have the records from like the Ottoman times and even before, about the lands that are waqf and should not be inherited, and how it actually improves the biodiversity of the area, because everyone works on it communally. They get the fruits from a community. It belongs to everyone. And how they say like it's crumbled after the introduction of like modernity, states, all this kind of. So this concept cannot be applied anymore. So I think it's a really interesting idea, waqf.
Yeah, because I don't know what who is supposed to ensure the maintenance of it? I guess the people who are using it, but they don't own it. So it's something that it's outside the system of private property. And yeah, it means it belongs to no one, but then it means it belongs to everyone.
Exactly.
So it's
everyone
like
should take care of this thing.
Yeah.
It's very anti-capitalist
very
idea.
communist idea, actually, the waqf. But roots in
I remember like in our street there was this water tap in the street, and it was written waqf la ta'ala. It's like it's for everyone, it's for free. And I remember always after we play football we'd go there and drink the water, because it's the only free water that's out, because you cannot drink from taps there. It has to be filtered, and there's a whole filter thing, and people would go and drink water. So that, and always like in every district or street there's always one public tap water, so that everyone can drink for free and stuff, and the person who's doing it will get good deeds, because that's why they do it. And just I really like the idea of like it stops being a commodity. So it has the name waqf on it, and cannot inherit it or given, just people take care of it. Like if you find something waqf and the person's taking care of it is not doing anymore, you just step in and do it. So it keeps on going.
It's really beautiful. It's very beautiful idea. I'm not sure if it's like in Egypt. I think there are also some public gardens that belong to the Ministry of Awqaf, which is the ministry
that takes care of just this thing.
But I'm not sure if it's somehow these gardens are not disappearing now under the current government.
Because now at least our understanding is that anything that's public, it belongs to the government.
Exactly.
But this idea is against this.
It shouldn't be owned by government anymore. It's intemporal. It belongs to generations.
Yes.
It belongs to the future generations. It's higher than the government.
Yeah. It makes me sad that it's not applied anymore now. Or at least yes, but people would put a chair or like the thing that holds the or like a tap of water, but like I don't see anyone anymore like doing or maybe I don't know. I just
water. I think in Egypt it's still there. In Cairo and south of Egypt, I saw these things still. Yeah, water was always available in the street. I think historically and until now. I don't know the quality of that water. I don't know like how good it is, but people are drinking from there because not everyone can afford bottled water.
Course,
so these things they exist, and I think they are people themselves who are setting this up, and not government, or maybe a mosque. Some kind of communities related to the mosque. But for the gardens, because the land is so expensive now and you can make a lot of projects that will bring a lot of money. It's becoming for grabs a little bit.
I don't know anything legal now, honestly, but like is the awqaf now getting sold or something, or like these lands or properties that's not supposed to be, is it?
I don't know exactly. I think someone maybe could do a research. I didn't do a research on it, but there are public gardens in Cairo that are becoming little by little privatized. You either would get a small spot for cafeteria, another for some other initiative. And also the lands that are near the Nile, they are very expensive now, and they all belong to the army. I mean, maybe they didn't belong to the army, but now they belong to the army. So the gardens that happen to be on the Nile, they are also progressively closed.
Okay.
I don't know if these particular cases that I'm thinking about belong to, they are waqf or not. But I guess many gardens, they belong to the Ministry of Awqaf.
Okay,
so
maybe we'll look into it sometime. It's an interesting question.
It's also dangerous, I think, if you do research about this. I mean, to go back to Egypt.
Are you planning to go back anytime soon?
Yes. I'm still working on my research. Of course, So I'm still not done with my research, and then I will have another research project. I'm sure, and I don't know if it's gonna be on Egypt, but I guess it will be. But sure. I always plan to go back.
And your current research is about the small writers in these like literary clubs. And what do you research about them exactly?
It's small writers. So I mean, they're not small. They're a bit old, but they're not known, and they are very much amateur. Not, of course, like now the categories as amateur, professional. In literature, it's very difficult to use them because there are no formal education on how to become a writer. That would.
So it's like hobbyists that do it.
Like people would say like professional is the one who gets who makes a living out of writing, but I don't think that anyone can make a living. Maybe like very, very
few
famous
people,
Western writers can. I'm working on these literary communities, and basically my idea is to see how through literature, through writing, through going out to these like events and clubs, people are recreating a life for themselves in which they feel that they are the masters because they are writing, they are producing the thing. They feel they are the masters of the life much more than, for example, in the families or professional world where they're kind of crushed by the society. This is what they say.
Like autonomy, like regaining some kind of autonomy.
Because many people, when they graduated, the first thing they had to do was to establish a family and get a job to support it. And many people are working in jobs that they don't like. And at some point, when they have some time already, like let's say the kids have grown, they would turn to writing in order to reinvent a new life that is based on literature, and which allows them to go out to the city and meet new people in a respectable framework. It's about literature. It's also attached to like some class, a higher class thing. And also it allows them to write and to immerse themselves in literary fantasy and imagination and to escape. Now in Egypt, it's not easy to live for anyone because still there is political repression and economy is not doing great, and many like paths for mobility advancement, like social
class mobility, is diminishing.
So for people, literature that offers an opening in many ways, like opening into a new life, into encounters, into maybe a new job, maybe a new source of resources. It's about this.
It's very interesting how like you make a new life for yourself by taking on this like hobby and this like new life and community that you build around it and stuff. I didn't think about it before, but I know some people who are like this, or they were writers all their life actually, and then later in life they take it more seriously, or they do other activities within this like circles.
It's very often because also in Egypt really a lot of people write. Like literature, poetry is very much embedded in culture, of everyday culture of people's lives. Like people grow up with poetry. It's very much in school.
Every day on WhatsApp in the morning, someone would get like poetry. They wrote like صباح الورد والهنا. I don't know, like تصبيحية, like a morning poetry. And I remember when I was younger, I used to be friends with my friend dads, and all of them like on WhatsApp every morning. They had to send, maybe they don't write it, but they send like some kind of poem as like good morning, or like, you know, something like this, or like with a sticker or a picture.
Exactly.
So everyone loves to write, or start a broadcast channel where they write some poems or reflection. So I feel like it's also interesting how it took over the digital world, or like online forums. They're really popular, like in many places, Egypt or like Saudi Arabia or like other countries. Online forums were really popular. Everyone would write different forms on different things.
And this actually, the popularization of this on those online forums on social media, this what allowed the writers who just were writing at home and were not publishing anything
Mm-hmm.
to go out like from their restricted circle of amateurism
Yeah.
and seek bigger dreams, basically, pursue bigger dreams in writing,
Mhm,
dreaming to
mhm.
become a writer, access readership, also to participate in the Cairo Book Fair,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very interesting event. It's basically the event that creates a lot of happiness, there's a lot of emotion, because for writers to see the book in the book fair, it's they feel like, okay, I arrived.
Yeah.
I made it.
I'm a writer.
I'm a writer. But then there is like also a very big disappointment
Mm-hmm.
because no one buys the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, but
Yeah.
no readers.
Oh.
So it's an interesting event where hopes are born, but also they break down very quickly.
Yeah.
Like in the span of few days.
Mm-hmm.
I go every year to the book fair and I observe it
Yeah.
very closely. Like people are so happy at the same time, but also at the same time very frustrated and unhappy and having doubts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a real phenomenon in Egypt, and I think everywhere else,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really easy to publish a book,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to pay.
Yeah.
So basically, you pay for the publishing of a book, and you can do whatever you want with a book because you are the master of decision, because
Yeah.
you pay the money, so you can choose your own cover and you can write whatever you want.
Yeah.
So and when you go to the book fair, you see all these books
Yeah.
that are self-published.
Mm-hmm. And do you think like in Egypt, like it's more of a thing, like people write more, or no, or it's just like it takes different forms there?
Then here, you mean, or then
Yeah.
comparing?
Or like yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that's the case? Why is like writing such like an essential part of life there?
Yeah, I think maybe traditionally literature was an important part of life,
Mm-hmm.
and poetry especially. Like if you
Yeah.
go back
True. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
history, poetry was important. And then there is this fascination of the language, Arabic language, classical,
Yeah,
because it's
true.
a sacred language.
Mm-hmm.
So people love the languages. They sometimes tell me that like I really love the language.
Yeah.
There is a emotion of love to the language that actually you don't speak at
True.
home.
True. Yeah.
But you learn at school. And then I think writing is very much promoted in school as a way of learning Arabic.
Yeah.
So people get used to writing when they are young. They're writing diaries. Also in school, people used to have, for this generation that are already now older, but let's say in the 80s and 90s, they used to have this Magalat al-Ha'it.
Yeah.
All the writers I interviewed, they wrote in this like the wall journal, the wall journal,
The wall magazine.
the wall magazine.
Yeah.
That you would write something and you would put there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it encouraged people to write and to create a
Yeah.
relationship with the written
Mm-hmm.
word and with the practice of writing.
True. Yeah. Also, like I've noticed now, like remembering, like almost all my teachers of Arabic, they're very passionate about Arabic. Like I don't see
Exactly.
that someone
Yeah,
passionate
yeah.
about language that one, but they always love Arabic so much. Like they're very proud of the language and of how it's the complicities of it and the different words, and they explain it with such passion. I feel bad because all the students are like, why do you have to learn? Like,
Yeah.
old
Old.
all these things. But yeah, there's this like passion for
Yeah.
Arabic language.
The
yeah.
Arabic classes, I also have the impression that for people in Egypt, it's either those who went to public schools,
Yeah.
it's either an absolute trauma,
Yeah.
they're completely traumatized by the teacher, or they were in love with the teacher and they encouraged them to write. So it's also very emotionally strong experience that people have.
I think every Arab like has trauma from the grammar and Arab, all this thing, because it's super hard and you don't use it in everyday life. It's like so stupid, but I understand. It makes sense for the basic language, but everyone, because it doesn't make sense. Like it give you a sentence, Arab ma tahtahu khat, like find the grammar of this word in the sentence, and you have to learn so many rules, maftuh, maksur, damma, like all this kind of thing. So there's this big. I didn't talk to anyone who didn't have like horrible Arab classes, like grammar classes.
Yeah, I also had them, by the way, I need to say.
How
They were
was
in
it?
France. Was horrible.
And you don't use it that much because you only needed to know like what's the last annotation of that word that many of the
read it,
times you
yeah.
can just put it as sukun, like you can
Mm.
just make it like the normal one. You don't have to.
Yeah, if you decide to be a radio journalist,
Yeah.
or the one or the TV presenter,
Yeah.
I think you need to know all
Yeah,
these things
yeah.
to speak.
Plus, I think like lots of people know without actually knowing. Like you don't think in your head, okay, what's the grammar of this one? It just makes it flows, you know. Like it has some kind of structure, so no one actually thinks like.
So they
Oh.
learned very well at school. If it's not, if it's unconscious.
Yeah, like now I remember, like I forget all the rules, but half of the time I get it correct when I'm saying it because I still remember the flow and that type of things.
You had a good Arabic teacher.
Yes, I also like because it's very interesting because I was in Saudi Arabia and we went to and we went to okay, for me I went to all kinds of school, Egyptian curriculum, Saudi curriculum, Canadian, British, everything. So they tried everything on me, but in the end they tried to put us in some international schools because they believe like education is the biggest class mobility, so that's all their focus. Put us in like a good school so that you can go somewhere in life later. You don't have to work like these mundane jobs. So they were very scared of losing the language and stuff, so we had like private Arabic teacher classes and Quran teachers so that like it's drilled in our brain and we don't forget it and stuff. And I feel like so many parents, they want to make sure that at least one thing their kid speaks good Arabic or like they have good Arabic and stuff.
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure it's for everyone.
And like some kind of like either another language and also Arabic, that would be like the
Arabic,
perfect, yeah. But also durus is very like private lessons is very popular in Egypt. I feel like it's a whole culture even.
Yeah.
Like of these centers for private tuitions that you go after school so that you can get better grades in your board exams and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very toxic.
There are many teachers that refuse to do it, but they are very suicidal because teachers are really not getting a good salary at all in Egypt. So the one solution is to give private lessons.
Exactly.
But then the teachers would not teach during the classes.
Yeah, exactly.
And they would say like, okay, come to my private lesson if you want to know this.
Yeah,
so, yeah. But there is I think in many spheres in Egypt there are like this division, like health, for example, healthcare, like public healthcare. Many doctors, they have a private clinic, but also they would work in some public hospital. So yeah, but I hope they are healing people in the public hospital as well. If you want better, come to my private. But this is like many spheres. It's divided like this. Yeah.
Okay, so we're almost done with the time. Is there any final remarks or
we
anything
spoke
you
about
wanted
so
to
many
say?
different topics that I don't know on what on which topic we could like conclude.
Yeah, I guess that's perfect conclusion. Like we talked about everything at the same time. And I really want to thank you for coming here.
Thank you for inviting
for
me.
your
It was
time
really
and
nice
talking
too.
to us. And it's always great to see you around the events and speaking Egyptian Arabic to all my friends. It's always fascinating every time. And like more friends that I bring, the more they're fascinated. They're like, wow, how? But yeah, I guess that's how you learn the language, you know. Many people encouraging you and stuff.
Yeah. At the end, it's not so difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for coming here. Thank you, Alan, for stream managing. And we'll see you all next month, hopefully with Mariam. Bye-bye.
Bye.